and gentlemen. First, I have to say, you are an amazing group. Here it is, after 9 o'clock, you're still here. Wonderful. Not only that, it's Friday night. My goodness. So I realize you're all tired from the long day, but what a day. Talking about innovation, encouragement, and truly exciting innovations going on in government around the country. So I applaud all of your efforts. I applaud all the speakers. I applaud, in fact, elets for organizing this event. I think it's fantastic. We don't have an event like this in Canada. We have events around the world that are talking about smart cities, but nothing quite like what I've seen today. So this has been spectacular. Very good. But I'm not sure that I'm alone. Every time someone mentions smart cities, I wonder what they're really thinking about when it means smart city. To give you an idea of the quandary, let me pose to you a question. This question arose at a talk about 6 months ago that I attended on smart cities. The speaker rocked my understanding of smart cities when he asked the question, in whose eyes are we measuring whether a city is smart or not? Are we measuring smart cities from the perspective of the residents and businesses who are served by the city, or are we measuring smart cities from the perspective of city administrators who implement the smart initiatives? Or are we measuring smart cities purely on the innovation approaches we have taken on various initiatives? So I reiterate, who is the audience for smart cities? My second quandary comes from the influence that smartness can only be achieved through technology innovation. But let me give you a couple of examples of smartness where technology is not front and center, but they're still smart in my mind. My first example starts with a technology solution. The case in point is Rio de Janeiro. Apparently, they have spent considerable time implementing a new command center loaded with the latest in technology to to forecast and predict weather, and in particular to predict storms in the event of it causing flooding. When they detect such a storm, then they use an early warning system that notifies residents so they can take the necessary precautions. It seems like a really smart initiative, wouldn't you think? But I stopped. You spent millions of dollars now telling people that a storm is going to hit and that flooding is going to commence and possibly wash out the roads and some of the properties. Why aren't you spending that money on better stormwater drainage systems? So my lesson from this is that sometimes we see the technology solution before we see the more mundane and practical solution because it has a certain technical appeal. My second example comes from Canada, actually. I was involved in an engagement where we brought all levels of government, federal, provincial, or state, and local government together to examine services to seniors. Midway through the engagement, we had identified 212 services to seniors. I was shocked. My shock came from the fact that my mother, who is a senior, was only aware of one of the 212 services. Wow. But the real lesson I learned from this engagement was the following. If a senior citizen picks up one negative trait, such as getting sick, or losing their spouse, or losing their income, etc., then they tend to pick up other negative traits as well. So that senior citizen will spiral down. And every time they spiral down, it costs government that much more to bring that senior citizen back to her normal state. So if you can intervene after that first negative state has been realized, you will have saved that individual from having to go through that downward spiral, but you will also have saved government millions and millions of dollars to actually allow them to recover. So for me, the lesson that came from that senior citizen study was all about we need to collaborate as government. We need to work across different ministries and departments to help that senior citizen come out of those negative states, to act more quickly. We need to have technology solutions like integrated case management to help them out. So there is a technology solution there, but the secret sauce, the secret ingredient to success is that we need to talk to each other across different government departments. Okay. My final quandary is that I pose to you tonight is, why is smarter better? In this context, I could be addressing a similar audience on the topic of intelligent cities, or resilient cities, or sustainable cities, or livable cities. And by the way, at the city's Global Center of Excellence in Toronto, we actually monitor all of these different indices and the indicators that actually prove that they've achieved that sustainability or livability or whatever else. I ask myself, does it matter? The only answer I land on every single time is that we're trying to improve the quality of life of cities, residents, and businesses. We're trying to improve mobility. We just had a whole session on mobility. The health, well-being, safety, economic prosperity, culture, active living, etc., etc. Those are the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. And the only mechanism that I can see that will actually achieve these outcomes is through the services that we offer. And I heard a lot throughout the day about infrastructure and technology and so on. But sometimes we forgot to actually mention what the service was that we're adding the technology to make the city smarter. And so that's where you get services like water supply and building permits. That's where you get social welfare payments and all those other services coming through. So the focus should be more on the services that we deliver, and then understand the processes, the technology, and the people that we bring to bear to actually make those services more efficient and effective. But I ask you, what services does the Smart City Initiative address? How is the customer or client benefiting, and is the value that the service being enhanced to deliver better program outcomes? I've spent the last 20 years shaping and molding something called the Municipal Reference Model, or the MRM. At the center of the Municipal Reference Model are the services we deliver in our cities. And I don't go into a jurisdiction like India or United States or Australia or into South Africa without first understanding what the mandate is within that jurisdiction at the city level for delivering services. And in every case, it's different. So one of the things I want to do with the Municipal Reference Model in India is actually customize it to enumerate and announce what services you deliver in your cities, and then we can start to monitor whether a city is becoming smarter by looking at where it currently exists and where we want to be in years to come. So in summary, I've posed 3 quandaries for you to consider. Who shall measure whether a city is smart or not? That's the who. If technology is an enabler, then what about the Smart City Initiative will make a difference? What is it about that Smart City Initiative that will make the difference? That's the what. And finally, what services are we improving, and what will the Smart City Initiative achieve? In short, the who, the what, and the why. I merely pose such quandaries to keep ourselves honest and true to those we serve when implementing smart initiatives. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Alan Michel, Head of Global Cities Center of Excellence of KPMG. I request Dr. Ravi Gupta to please present a memento to the special addressee, Mr. Michel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming over and addressing this Smart City Conclave. Thank you, and I request Dr. Ravi Gupta to finally thank the delegates, guests, and partners of the summit and wrap up the session. And after